Okay, welcome you guys. Welcome. I am Donovan Sadiq, the recovering Democrat. Been missing in action for a little bit. Had some personal issues happening. A good mentor of mine has passed away. His name is Dwayne Lewis. Great man, Chief Warrant Officer 5, United States Marine Corps, helicopter mechanic or specialist that he worked when he was on helicopter side. Embry-Riddle graduate, Embry-Riddle professor, instructor. The man knew his stuff. Met his son. Son looked just like him. Oh my God. Cloning has been going on in his family, but a good friend of mine, he passed on. It kind of hit me kind of hard. Dwayne basically taught me a lot about community service. We already know about, service before self being in the military, but he taught me a lot about community service and, thinking about the next generation. I would say he's one of the very few baby boomers that wasn't thinking about himself. He was always thinking about, the lost art of, our love in this country for baseball, our lost art for the kids in the community, and making it better for them. So, not that I wasn't taught that, he just reinforced that because, too many times we get lost in our own problems and our own issues, and we just think about what's going on in our lives and our families, like we see our black politicians do. They don't care about us as a whole. They care about their families and enriching themselves. So you guys, welcome to the broadcast. I'm Donovan Sadiq. I'm also known as the Recovering Democrat. Thank you for coming on to the show. Later on today at about 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, I will be on the Dimitri K Show, and we will be talking about some issues. Do not forget to join us on Sundays, the Dimitri K Show as well. Also, check out the African Diaspora News Channel with my brother Philip Scott, Vicki Dillard, and all the rest of the gang, as well as Dimitri K. She's on there as well. And a lot of information on there. Okay, real quick, this ain't going to be a long live thing. As you see at the bottom there, Black Politicians Ain't Shit, the podcast. That is still going on. This is a video cast. So I'm not really doing a podcast right now. But I started the Black Politicians Ain't Shit podcast about maybe, 5-6 years ago. Amazing how a lot of what I was talking about has now become a common standard as people are waking up. The people in Chicago are waking up as they see that we are now a permanent underclass. Stop talking about, like these migrants are coming here, these illegal migrants are coming here, and they're not displacing us. That's exactly what they're doing. That's exactly what they're doing. Economic migration is not a legitimate reason to file for asylum because you want a job. I can't go to their countries and do that. Why are we letting them come to our countries and do this? You passed 5 other countries, if not more, to get to the United States if your life was in danger. So black people are waking up and they're upset. It's amazing how we can have all of these Americans homeless in the streets. And we say, well, they got to pull themselves up by their bootstraps. They got to do this. We can't solve homelessness in America, but they can solve homelessness for illegal people who come to this country and give them stipends. Black people, are you awake yet? Are you awake yet? Because we've been sounding the alarm for years in regards to what the Democratic Party and the Republican Party in general does toward black people. So what I want to talk about is you got all these idiots out here talking about, well, to solve our issue, we need to elect more Democrats to Congress. How many of you guys have heard of a young man named Matt Gaetz? He's a representative out of Florida. He has a group called the Crazy Eight. That's what his own party named them, Crazy Eight. Matt Gaetz and the Crazy Eight. That's only 8 people, and they just got rid of the Speaker of the House, which has basically brought the government to a standstill. You can't move any legislation in the House without a speaker. Once again, you tell me how having a majority gets things done. Asian people got a crime bill and they weren't a majority. There's only, I think, 1 or 2 Asian senators and maybe 5 or 9 Asian Congress people it's a low number. My point is it's a low number. They got a crime bill, anti-Asian crime bill on the first try. a minority group. Some of you guys remember the Asian senators told Joe Biden, if we don't get what we want, none of your legislation is moving through, because it's so close. Everything's 50-50. In the Senate, very slim majority going over there. They leverage their minority status to power. So if we have about 68 Black congressional members, okay, 68 of them, what's the difference between majority in the House? Anybody know? 5. The Republicans are the majority in the House by 5 votes. 5. So if you have approximately 68 CBC members, why hasn't Black people gotten anything? There's 435 members of the House. 435. You split that in half, that's about 220 per side, right? So that means the Congressional Black Caucus, which is the biggest caucus in the House, can run the agenda. But what are they demanding? LGBTQ rights, they vote on that. They voted for the Asian crime bill. They voted for illegal immigration and all that other stuff. Everybody benefits when it comes to the CBC, but Black people. But Black people. Those are just facts. Matt Gaetz and the Crazy Eight have brought the government to a standstill, and they weren't even in the majority. Michael Pan says, I have issues with Democrats not fighting hard for Medicare for all, tuition, debt-free, public higher education and job training, cash payment reparation for ADOS, removal of qualified immunity. Well, you know, Michael, you know, we talk about this all the time on the Dimitri K show. You know as well as I do, the Democrats don't care about that. That's why they don't fight for it. They don't care. They don't care for it. These parties work in tandem, like the good cop, bad cop scenario. Well, if you work with us, you know, hey, I'm going to get you some water. Would you like some water? You know, before we talk, or, you know, well, yeah, he's kind of, and then you got the other cop, get her, if you don't know we're locking you up, we're going to do all this other stuff. That's how it works. But they both want you to confess. They're on the same team. That's why. The Democrats, they don't believe in universal health care. If they did, when Obama was in office for 2 years, they had a super majority. They didn't do it. They didn't do any of this stuff. So we want to dispel the rumor that you need to elect more Democrats to get what it is you want. That's not true. That's absolutely not true. We're seeing this more and more and more. In a country that is supposed to be majority rule, we find out that the minority runs the table. There are not enough LGBTQ people involved in politics or even able to vote to even do anything to get what they want, but yet they got legislation. 96% of Black people voted for the Democratic Party in the last national election. And what did Black people get? Nothing. Nothing. They got nothing for their vote. LGBTQ got something. The Dreamers got something. Nobody's even talking about the Ukrainians. They got Social Security. Almost 250,000 Ukrainians were flown into the United States, housed, everything. And when it comes to reparations, there's never any money. Israel who we've been supporting for over 70 years since its existence, has been getting a check from the United States. And now we are arming them to the teeth to slaughter a bunch of human beings for the horrific thing that Hamas did. We are going to slaughter a bunch of human beings for something that they had nothing to do with, or we can't prove they had anything to do with. This is the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party promotes abortion. But yet you have all of these 96% of Black people identify as Christians. Over 90%. Okay, let's forget that. Over 80% of Black people identify themselves as Christians. And yet the Democratic Party promotes less family values, homosexuality, illegal immigration, abortion, and war, mass war. That's what the Democratic Party is standing for today. Michael Pan says we need Donald Trump and third-party candidates to replace White House and the Congress. Well, I'm not sure if Donald Trump is the answer. I would think Donald Trump is more of a distraction. But as I've said, and I've said on all kinds of platforms, I, as a protest vote, am going to support the Republican nominee. If that nominee is Donald Trump, he can have my vote, because I'm going to protest the Democratic Party. Again, I am the recovering Democrat. I've been a Democrat most of my life. Oh, I wouldn't say most. I would say I've been a Democrat for about a third of my life. Of course, my formative years, I'd say up until, okay, wait. If I'm 53 right now, I would say I've been a Democrat for about 25 of those years. So about half of my life, I was a Democrat until I woke up and I saw what they were doing. And it isn't nothing particular that they do. It's what affects my pocketbook. That is how I vote. I am a individual person who votes my interests. I don't care what the rest of the Black America is doing. I don't care what the rest of America is doing. I care about how it affects me. So let's just dispel the rumor that you need to vote more Democrats into power before we can get anything. That is total bull crap. Boule Martin, you stupid people, you dumbasses. He doesn't know what he's talking about. I have seen it with my own eyes. Groups that are in the minority are getting a bag. They're getting a bag. 90% of Black people are voting for the Democratic Party, and we are getting nothing. The majority. Basic democracy says majority rules, but we know that that's not the case in the United States. Michael Pan says, I had to educate moms so many times on Black people's issues and Democrats. I prefer Donald Trump because he is very direct and confrontational. A wolf is better than dealing with a fox. Exactly. With Donald Trump, and I'm not a Trump supporter. And Michael, I don't think you're a Trump supporter in the fact of being a Trump supporter. I would rather deal with somebody who is point blank who they are versus somebody who hides in the shadows. Democrats for years, for 60 years, have said, oh, vote for us and we're going to do this and we're going to do that. Didn't they tell us that if we gave them the Senate, they would get rid of qualified immunity? What happened? They didn't do it, but they still expect your vote. Matt Gaetz and his party, as crazy as you might think, and as crazy as the Democrats are trying to make you think that they are the problem, that is what you're supposed to do. Never, I want you guys to think about this. Never, in any time that we can see currently, will Matt Gaetz and the Crazy Eight have the leverage to get what it is they want to get, what they were sent to Congress to do for their constituents. This is probably the best time that they're going to get it. The best time. So how could anybody be mad that they exercise the option that was given to them to leverage what they want. That is how you're supposed to do it. You don't need a majority. Who told you that? That's a bunch of BS. They're doing it the right way. They're leveraging their power. As limited as it is, this is their time. But Black people, 90% of us vote, and we can't seem to get anything. Michael Pan says, it's like women being indirect about ending relationships and playing games with people. Men are more direct than women are. We need more Republicans in office to wake people up. Exactly. Maybe where we're at right now as Black people, and I argue this with my counterpart, Demetra, and I argue it with a lot of women. They don't want to accept the fact, and a lot of these boule Negroes, Black people, we are now a permanent underclass. 70% of Black people are in poverty on some form of government assistance. You don't believe me? If we are so-called only 13% of the population, which is bullshit, they keep telling you that because when they keep telling you that and you believe it, if you actually believe that we're only 13% over 60 years, we wouldn't even exist. Statistically, that is impossible. But let's say you believe that, which a lot of you do. When you believe you're only 13%, that means your influence and your part of the resources doesn't grow. That's why when these Latin people come here, more and more and more and more, their piece of the pie gets bigger. Why do you think Joe Biden told those boule Negroes, you need to get and deal with the Mexicans and the Hispanics? Get behind them. Because they want you to believe that we've been at 13 to 14% for over 60 years. If you do believe that, there's two things you need to think about, because statistically, that wouldn't make sense. Either there is a genocide, a direct genocide by the United States government, Republican and especially Democrat, against Black people to keep us at 13% while other groups are growing, or it's not true, basically. Either there's been a systematic direct genocide against Black people, or it's not true. We are not 13%, we're actually bigger than that. But let's look at the numbers. If we were 13%, and you believe we're 13%, how can a group of people who are 13% be 50% of all of the homeless across the United States? The math is not mathing. How can one specific group that is 13% of the population represent 50% of the homeless? Now, let's just use our common sense. So I'm going to change this thing here because I love doing this. And I want you guys to look at my background. And I love putting this up. It's called critical thinking. I want you to critically think about this. If we're 50% of the population, or 50% of the homeless population, that means there's a systematic system put in place to make that so. Targeted directly at Black people. So what's the Democratic Party doing about it? You've got American citizens on the streets, homeless, can't solve it. Illegal migrants come here, they can put them up in hotels. Couldn't they do the same thing for American citizens? I'm a military veteran. There are almost 1 million veterans that are homeless. That is a disgrace. That's a disgrace. A disgrace. and you can't find home, and you can't solve their issues of homelessness. Michael Pan says, America is too nice towards immigrants and refugees. We are the only country where we cannot take care of our own despite paying taxes. Michael's one of the few that actually get it. He understands the economic and the systematic problems that are going on towards certain groups within the United States. And, you know, and no disparaging comments. I don't want to be stereotypical. If you do know a little bit, obviously Michael Pan is of Asian descent, and he gets it. And he's not afraid to call it out for what it is. I mean, it's blatant in your face. Why is it that a population that is 13% of the so-called population occupying 70% of the prisons in the United States? If the Democratic Party wants to do something for Black people, why aren't they repealing the 1995 crime bill authored by Joe Biden that incentivizes states and local municipalities to incarcerate Black people and people of color at high rates? Why aren't they doing that? Ladies and gentlemen, you do not need a majority to run your agenda. You don't need it. 68 members of the CBC right now could demand things for Black people. But as we know, the CBC doesn't represent Black people. Michael says, Donovan, what can America learn from the Dominican Republic when it comes to addressing basic human needs? Number one, Mike, when it comes to the Dominican Republic, my second home, there is no safety net. There is no social safety net. In a lot of these countries, there are no social safety nets. You got to go get it the best way you can get it. And when you know that Uncle Sugar, United States, Uncle Sugar, is not going to be there to provide you a food voucher, provide you with a housing voucher, is going to give you food stamps, guess what? Your natural instinct of survival kicks in. Now, let's be real about this, Michael. In the Dominican Republic and countries like that, you've got people that are so desperate to survive. They're doing what? Prostitution. What? Let me say that better. What we call prostitution here in the United States, they're doing sex work. You got some people that are outright robbing and killing and stealing to survive. And you've got some people that are selling drugs to survive. Let's do a retrospective. What are we, especially in the Black community, doing in survival mode? We sit here and talk about, how, oh, these poor women in these other countries, they're doing this and men are buying them and they're being sex traded and all this other stuff. What the hell is OnlyFans? That's a form of sex work. It's a form of sex work. It's crazy how, and I can only speak of the Black community, how many Black women aspire to be strippers? OnlyFans. Get the bag. Get the money, girl. I mean, I was watching a video the other day in Miami where a guy was saying that, even when you go to the clubs, they're soliciting in the clubs. If you want a good time with a nice woman, with a woman or women, they're going to solicit you in the clubs. But I was one of the very first people that said, once they legalize marijuana, what do you think is going to be next? What do you think is going to be next? They're pushing this. This is the agenda that they push. The Democratic Party. They're not against it. They're pushing it. Family values? The Democratic Party doesn't push family values. Show me where the Democratic Party stands up for family values. They're globalists. You think they care what's going to happen to those Palestinians that are going to be slaughtered by the Israelis? You think they care? The arms manufacturers are going to make a lot of money. Michael says, Donovan, if you were a state senator of California, what would be your platform in terms of pushing hard cash pay reparations for ADOS, removal of qualified immunity, and universal policies? Do it. That's my platform. Do it. Don't want no more excuses. Don't want no more excuses. It's been over 30, 60 years. Do it. That's my platform. No more excuses is my platform. Do it. Give it to them. Everything has to be lineage based, though. It has to be lineage based. I am not for reparations for everybody. Just because you look black doesn't mean you should get reparations. If you are a person who came to this country in the 1960s from the Caribbean or from Africa, you don't get American reparations, lineage-based reparations. I don't believe in that. I believe you should get qualified immunity if you're being targeted because of your black skin. That's for everybody. Universal health care, I'm not really for that. Personally, I'm not for universal health care. However, if that's what the people want, we should do that. But I also feel that universal health care should have limitations to it, because some people were going to take universal health care and it's going to lead to even farther demise of not taking care of themselves and all that other stuff. If you look at some other countries, there's limitations to their universal health care. You don't get the best doctors. You don't get the best nurses. You don't get the best care. You just don't. It is what it is. And, if we're talking universal health care, Michael, I'm coming from the military. I'm not saying the military didn't get the best care. We get the best that's available, okay? If military, which is universal, everybody in the military gets a certain thing. When you're active duty military, you get the same kind of treatment, right? You got doctors in the military that can't perform certain surgeries. You have to go outside of the military. You know what I mean? So I'm here to tell you, universal health care isn't what people see in the movies, okay? You're not going to get the best care. I've seen a lot of people, myself included. I had dental issues. Okay, good example. I was in the military. I had wisdom teeth in my mouth. They pulled them out for no apparent reason. They weren't bothering me. They were set. I have a big mouth, as you guys know from my platform. And they pulled them out, which caused me more problems. But the dentist that did it, the technology back then and the theory was pull your teeth out and your wisdom teeth out, because there'll be a problem down the road. And we find nowadays with technology that's not the case. So you're not always going to get the greatest healthcare when it comes to universal healthcare. So I think there should be some limitations. Maybe the limitations on if you can afford it or not. You see what I'm saying? Those that can afford to get better medical, they should get it. There should be a cap on what type of universal medical line. If you're out there and you absolutely have nothing to yourself, absolutely, you should get some kind of care. But to get like boob jobs and top-notch stuff, no. There should be some kind of delineage, because when you do that, then you're no longer living in a capitalist system. Capitalism, which is the social system that we do, it does encourage survival of the fittest and the best of the best. So you got some of the best doctors, some of your best lawyers, because they are the best. Sidney Powell, who just pled guilty to a crime. She is a, what do you call that? A amendments lawyer, where you do an appeals lawyer. She does appeals. How she came into Trump's orbit is because she is good and specialized in appeals. So if you had to appeal your case, this is the woman you want. The woman's got a lot of money because she's very good at it. So when you have universal health care, it doesn't encourage better. It kind of encourages mediocre. So I'm kind of, kind of against that. And if we're supposed to be a capitalistic system, we should encourage competition. Competition between our doctors, competition between our lawyers, and let the people decide. Your dollars are going to decide if you're going to go with this doctor or that doctor. If this doctor is the best, and you have a child that needs a surgery, do you want to go with me, mediocre, yeah, I'm okay, or do you want to go with the best? And that's democracy. Your dollars are democracy. Michael says, Donovan, how would you work with Asian politicians in California who are skeptical about passing lineage-based cash payment reparations for ADOS? I wouldn't work with them. I wouldn't work with them. As a matter of fact, if they have that stance and precedence has been put out that the Asians got reparations and got what they did for World War II internment camps, I would do everything to be combative with them when it comes to things that they need currently. If they needed my vote, let's say the Asians right now wanted a business loan for the Asian community, I'd be against it. They could not count on me for a vote specifically for the Asian community because they have made it abundantly clear that they're not helping me when it comes to the Black community. And I get it. They have every right to do that, but they shouldn't get mad at me because I don't want to help them. So you got to, there's an old saying, Michael, it's called, you got to bring ass to get ass. That's an old saying from a great movie called Let's Do It Again. Bill Cosby, Sidney Poitier, and a whole host of Black stars in there. John Amos. You got to bring ass to get ass. So that's where I'm going to go with that. But hey, guys, it's 30 minutes in. I just wanted to tell you guys that Matt Gaetz is doing it the right way in the Crazy Eight. That is how you're supposed to do it. Do not let these people stupefy you talking about we need to vote more Democrats in. No, you don't. No, you don't. We had majorities, super majorities under the Obama administration. What did you get? Black president, super majority Senate, super majority Congress. In the House, what did Black people get? Not a damn thing. So that tells you that's not true. When you're in a position of a minority and you can run the table, you do it when the opportunity presents itself. It's just that cut and dry. It's just that simple. I congratulate Matt Gaetz and the Crazy Eight for shutting the government down. I really think that's what the Republicans really wanted to do. And they've succeeded. They've succeeded. And until their demands are met, the government will maintain and continue to be shut down. So people want to get paid. People want things done. It's not going to get done until you meet their demands. I'm Donovan Siddiq, you guys. I'm the recovering Democrat. I'll be back with Demetra K today. We'll be back on the Demetra K show at 3 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. Join us then. Do not forget to check out African Diaspora News Channel, Philip Scott Show, Philip Scott Podcast, Vicki Dillard, the Trey King Show. There's all sorts of platforms out there. What's his name? Lon Thexy, Janika Marie. There's all kinds of platforms out there that do all this. Michael Pence says exactly. The old Democrats are protecting the old system because they are concerned about losing support from Republicans, and that's what it comes down to. Like I said, if you're a critical thinker, you can see what's coming on down the pipe. Also join us. Michael Pan is going to be there on the show, and he usually comes on the show with great insight as well. So that's one thing about the Demetra K show that I say that's very different than other shows. You are the co-host on those shows, so please join us. Join us today, 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, Demetra K, and join us on Sundays, Demetra K show, 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time or 5 p.m. Central Time. I'm Donovan Siddiq. I am a recovering Democrat, and you guys have been informed. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Be blessed. Have a great day. I'll see you guys at 3 o'clock.